Welcome.
Yeah.
A Bengals Podcast.
Yeah. Number one Bengals Podcast.
I'm your host, Daddy McDuke.
That's right.
I'm joined as always by Dr. Hoji, Dr. Kesmoji.
Coming to you live, Facebook, Brinks.
And John Bruce Springsteen. Sheeran.
Baby, we were born to run.
That's right.
And look, we are not live on YouTube right now.
No.
And that, supposedly there is a YouTube outage. What, I don't know, some conspiracy theorists may be saying that it is, a way to get you watching Brinks.tv.
Yeah.
What you can do, you can go to Brinks.tv and watch this.
Live.
You can watch it live there right now. And it will be uploaded to the YouTube later. And also be on the YouTube Believe channel. If you're watching there, we are D&H Sports on YouTube. And it's also broadcast live on Facebook. Live stream. Just the flowing, kind of knowledge.
Frothy.
Bengals commentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, look, Brinks.tv, it's great. The work they're doing is great. And they have new podcasts all the time.
But what about the WINO app, Daddy? What about the WINO app?
Yeah, wino.app/DH Sports. You can go there for $3 a month. You can have a direct line to me and Hoji and John.
Yeah.
And we will basically tell you how to think, how to essentially navigate life,
Vegan recipes, horoscopes, whatever you're
all
looking
that
for.
stuff. Yeah. But on Brinks.tv, you will find this show. You will find the Ray Lewis show. You will find the Inside the Shield with Pro Football Moms show. And you will find a lot of other fun shows. And recently, I think Courtney has actually gotten some big-time guests, including the great Clint Eastwood, who has a new podcast. It's called... Hold on, let me just check. It's called I've Got Your Diversity Right Here.
Oh,
And,
my gosh.
it's Clint Eastwood's new podcast, so it's fascinating.
That sounds very Clint Eastwood. Sounds very untrue, but sounds a lot like Clint Eastwood. I remember
He's
when he
got to be
talked
like
to a
the
chair.
least diverse person in the world.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
Great
We can
director,
discuss
though.
the details.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is a great
Old Leatherface. We called him Old Leatherface, yeah.
Yes. And all right, guys, let's get right to the news. Well, first, we want, because there's not a lot of news.
Yeah.
There's no news. So what we're going to do is
There's no news.
we're going
Let's
to
not talk
review
about
some
the
of,
news.
well, we want to encourage you to leave comments on the show. And so we're going to review the best comments each week under a segment called Who Say. And this is obviously for the off season. And look, we had some comments on our YouTube show and in the chat box. And Courtney, can you pull those up, please? So, So, look, this one, I like this one. I don't blame Deshaun Watson. We were talking last week about Deshaun Watson's impact, his contract, the impact on the negotiations with Joe Burrow. And says, I don't blame him. Rather, I blame the Federal Reserve and unlimited Keynesian economics. And also, this is very much in keeping with our humor by Rick S. I remember Nick Eubanks when he hosted the Newlywed Game. And we had some comments in the chat box, Courtney, as well. The next slide. Yeah. So, look. The people were upset there was no hojoscope, obviously. And someone asked about ALEC Pierce. Oh, I like this one. Daddy looks very sharp. That's true. I mean, none of you have ever observed the dress code for this job.
Look at this, dude. He had 4 comments. I feel like he was just trying to get your attention, so he just lied.
Well, first of all, he's a super user. He pays for those comments. So that means they're correct. But also, look at all that value. Yeah. But he talked about ALEC Pierce, and we're going to talk about ALEC Pierce later in the show. And then, by the way, this show, every time we do a show, we have some blogs on cincyjungle.com. John has some blogs, but, this is my blog. If you want the real breakdown, the X's and O's, you can read my blogs. And let's look at some of the comments there. A little bit, the next slide, Courtney. And you can see that, there we go. A lot of people were really vocal about John with the puppets. And they say, I find it distracting.
See, okay, can I just say something about that?
But hold on, this man is a puppet minister, and he says he's not anti-puppet, which that makes it more, it makes it a little bit scarier. Yeah.
Yeah, I got something to say about that, and it's that I really get annoyed when they call John a puppet, and I don't know what they mean by that. I guess they were referring to John and Bridget, and it's because, Daddy and I are the stars. I get it.
Right.
And you guys are kind of voicing, I don't know, the news, and you're puppeting what's in the news, and you're not the creatives of the show the way I am. John, I am offended for you. When they call you a puppet, I get offended for you.
Yeah.
Look, I could put a stop to this delusion right now, but I feel like it might hurt your feelings if... let's just move on. But I feel like saying that you run a puppet ministry so that dequalifies you from being anti-puppet. It's kind of like saying you have black friends, so I'm not racist. So I'm not really sure I buy the validity of that justification there.
Well, I guess what he's trying to say, that's true. I guess he's trying to say I'm legitimately, I have a right to hate you. Right, and it's not because you're.
He feels entitled because of whatever, that he has going on.
Well, can you pull that comment up again one more time, Courtney? Because there are some other comments that I want to address. But okay, so we're pulling up the comment, and there you go. So look, and it says even John gets annoyed, which is ridiculous. John never looks annoyed. He never looks distracted or annoyed. And says, I'd rather just listen to Anthony and John. Anthony hasn't hosted the show for years. That was before John was here. Anthony Pacelli has been gone for a very long time.
I say we bring him back. He was a cute guy.
Yeah.
Let's get Anthony as a call-in.
Yeah. But look at the bottom commentary.
They're saying John gets annoyed because he just has to puppet everything that's in the news, and he has to puppet this and puppet that. And I agree. I see how John might get annoyed by that. But John is here for the facts. Yeah. You can't have a bunch of people spewing opinions. One guy's got to be the fact. John got to be the puppet.
Well, look at this bottom comment here. Carson Palmer's wife dreams about Joe Burrow every night. Okay. That is ridiculous.
More like
who would ever marry Carson Palmer? You know what I mean? That is outrageous. No one.
And I mean, considering the age difference, it might actually be illegal in some states.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is just a little boy.
Like which
Carson Palmer?
Who was getting mad at trash being thrown on their driveway if it wasn't Palmer?
Was he getting mad about that?
No, that was her. She was his real wife. That is real and not.
Daddy, were you throwing the trash? I have never known anyone to dislike Carson Palmer as much as Daddy, and there's no reason or logic behind it. He has this thing against Carson Palmer.
I would never throw trash on someone's yard when it's very cheap to hire someone to do that, actually. But look, let us go to the actual news, John. The Bengals hosted a guy you know a lot about, ALEC Pierce. And let me say, just in case anybody's wondering why the subtopics are not as witty or as fun as they usually are.
They're not as biting.
Yeah, Anik has finals this week. So he's a very busy man. And so he kind of
kept like 7 years old.
If that.
Very smart kid.
Is he already in college?
So, look. Yeah. So, look. John. ALEC Pierce.
Now let's imagine. Now, John, I want you to imagine there's someone out there who has no idea who ALEC Pierce is. He's hearing the name.
Right.
Just imagine. First time on the show. He's never heard of ALEC Pierce. Who is he? Because that's not us. That's not us. Because we get paid for this.
But some of our viewers.
Yeah.
So you want me to imagine talking to someone who's never heard of ALEC Pierce?
Never.
And I hate when people call you a puppet, John. But I want to know your opinion.
Okay,
puppet it to us.
Let me just get in the right mind frame here. Okay, ALEC Pierce is a 6'3", 212-pound wide receiver from the University of Cincinnati. He's been in like a 4-year contributor for that team. He really took off in 2020 as this tall, lanky, yet physical
Big boy.
vertical threat. Like his career average yards per reception is like 17 yards in an offense that really didn't take off until like last year. And he's been consistently productive in that offense. He emerged as the number one option in that offense. And just the physicality combined with his speed and his explosion for that size, it's a rare trait. And some of those guys, some of those receivers, they end up going pretty early in the draft. And that might surprise some people when Alec Pierce maybe becomes like a top 60 pick. He gets picked in the first 2 rounds. And I think people were really surprised at how well he tested at the combine. He ran I think he nearly ran a 4 flat 40-yard dash at that size, and he jumped out of the building. I think there's still a hole from the roof at Lucas Oil Stadium for when he jumped at the vertical jump. So the guy is really, really athletic, and he was productive at a very good program. So, yeah, I could definitely see him being picked really high, but when it comes to the Bengals, their receiver, you're not really expecting that because of the receivers that they have, but I think
not the second round pick. They wouldn't use that on him, right?
Probably not, but that might be what it takes to draft him. So I think the Bengals were interested in meeting with him. You know, I think he may not be from Cincinnati, but he's lived here for the past 4 years, so he's familiar with the area. I think they wanted to get another visit with him, see him run up close, because in all likelihood they're not going to draft him, but it doesn't hurt to just see what he is as a person, because in the unlikely case that he does fall in the draft, I could definitely see them being interested in him.
I mean, John, look, it is like probably a 10-minute bus ride for those scouts to go check him out, and you can ride the bus for like $1 or something now. So when you think about it, investment, right? If you think about going and scouting people all over the country, or just going right next door,
Yeah, but seriously, I love I know this is a show for kids, so I'm not going to use the word I was going to use, the gutsiness. I was going to use a different body part, but the gutsiness of the Bengals to think about getting a receiver when they already are so stacked on receiver. Because you know what it is? It's like, I got weapons, I'm going to put more weapons on. Yeah. Why not?
John, with all the big salaries coming up, right? You have to, and I hate to say this, because he is such a competitor, such a gritty guy, one of those guys who, when the team was really pretty sad, you look back at 2019 and when he broke his leg off and he dragged it back to the line of scrimmage in a game that people wanted to lose against the Dolphins. You look at Tyler Boyd, and you have to think they can't continue to pay him very long, right, John? I mean, if they're gonna try to keep T. Higgins in addition to Jamar Chase, we're not gonna have Tyler Boyd until the end of his career.
Not with the numbers he's putting up. No way. No, Boyd is
he's putting up those numbers because he's playing across from 2 Pro Bowlers. I mean, who would be able to put up numbers with those 2 guys, John?
Yeah, he's gone.
I mean, Alec Pierce is he's gone.
You can let me speak. Yeah, he's gone after 2023 when his contract expires. Tyler Boyd is.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
just no feasible way that they can pay all 3 of those guys. But Alec Pierce is not a Tyler Boyd replacement by any means. No.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is
What is he? What is he?
He's an outside.
Why not?
He would be.
Pretend I don't know, John. Pretend I know nothing about football.
I'm already pretending that. Like, I'm already in that mindset. He is a T. Higgins replacement, if anything, because he's that same body type.
So that is scary. That is scary. What if they want to replace both Higgins and Boyd?
No, they're not going to replace both of them. Not going to replace both of them. You see what he's saying? He's saying you're going to have 2 Higgins, you're going to have 2 T's, and you're going to have a Chase. Is what he's really saying.
No, they're not going to do that.
You don't need a slot guy. They're re-envisioning the offense.
John doesn't think
the NFL is not
going to keep Higgins.
The NFL doesn't have. I mean, contrary to popular belief, they don't have dictators running the NFL. Like, there is a limited amount of monetary supply here. You can't pay everyone. Like, it's more of a socialistic society than people realize.
There we go.
I'm saying there's a chance they lose Higgins too, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that has to be that has to be recognized as something that's possible.
Possibility. That's what I was saying.
Okay,
and the thing is,
a Pierce draft pick is very progressive in the sense that you're already planning for that, but there also has to be a legitimate plan to get him on the field, and you're talking about a second-round pick who might not see like starting snaps for the first 2 years of his career, and that might not be the smartest thing to do.
Well, it would drive his value down, make it easier to sign him to the second contract. But
look at him already thinking.
Okay, John, let us move on.
He sees dollars and cents. Okay, let's go. Right.
Because, John, look, the Bengals have worked out a lot of cornerbacks, right? Yeah. And one guy, probably the top corner, the guy that would go in the first round, is Andrew Booth. Who,
yes.
You think he has some injury concerns that we don't know about.
Back in high school,
I want to talk about him.
Yeah, back in high school, started dealing with tendonitis, like at the ripe age of 18. And then he missed a couple of games in his first 2 years. And then he had surgery.
And which spot of the body was that, the tendonitis?
It's a good question. I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
Then after his sophomore year, he had surgery on his right patella, I want to say, so around his knee, and that was back in 2020. And ever since then, he's been healthy. But then he dealt with like a quad injury, like a groin injury, and I think he had surgery for a sports hernia just like a couple months ago, and that's impacted how much that he could do this offseason before the draft. So there is a laundry list of medical issues on top of his profile. And while he's been able to play with all of those ailments and whatnot, he hasn't missed a ton of time. That is something that teams could notice and say, okay, he's been able to stay healthy now, but what is his long-term health outlook looking like? If you've dealt with all of these things and these issues at 19, 20, 21 years old, are you going to be able to hold up for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years? And that has led in the past to some really good players dropping in the draft. And I think that's not completely out of the equation for a guy like Booth, who should be going in the first round if he was completely healthy. But like last year, Tevin Jenkins was an offensive tackle from Oklahoma State, and he had several injuries attached to his resume, and that ended up dropping him out of the first round entirely. He ended up going like the middle of the second round, but he deserved to be drafted a lot higher, and he barely stayed healthy in his rookie year. I'm saying like that is possible for Booth, and that's something to consider for the Bengals, who maybe need a cornerback who's able to play right now, and I think he will be able to play. It's just that those injury, that history, it's definitely questionable.
Yeah, because what we're really what we're talking about really is someone being injury prone, and we remember the Tyler Eifert days when you kept hoping for him to get better and he kept getting worse. It was like a Mr. Magoo scenario. He's walking through, glass. He's stepping on rakes. He's sleeping on banana peels. And the thing is, you can't plan an offense around someone who keeps getting injured. And so let's scratch Andrew Booth off the list. I think we can all agree on that.
John, let's talk about him as a player, because I looked at about 8 to 9 seconds of his highlights. It reminded me a little bit of William Jackson, kind of the long arms, using his arms.
Which one, the first, second, or the third one?
The third William Jackson.
The third one, okay.
Yeah, John, what kind of cornerback is he? How fast is he? Is he like is he a shutdown corner? Is he a physical corner? What is he?
So I don't really see that much William Jackson in him. I honestly think that what William lacked, at least at the professional level, was the ability to track deep balls and to time just getting his hands up to defend some of these passes. And I think that's something that Booth brings in spades. I think his footwork and his feet in general are very good. They're reminiscent of a Chidobe Awuzie, the guy who can mirror guys in man coverage and can get physical, and a very willing run defender, and a guy who wants to take on blocks and attack some of those screens and those swing passes, and that's something that William Jackson was not very good at. So I think there's a lot to like about Andrew Booth when he's on the field, and just his overall athletic skill set. Maybe he may not be like the fastest guy on running the 40-yard dash, but I think just in general his physicality matched with his footwork and his back pedal when he's dropping back into coverage. I think it's among the best in this class, and that combined with the medical questions is why I think he's in the conversation for being a late first-round pick. And if you have confidence in his medical, I don't think there's a better cornerback selection to be taken with the 31st pick in this draft.
Okay. Well, you know what's funny is that what you described reminded me a lot of Leon Hall.
Yeah.
And he had the injuries too. I mean,
Leon Hall had two Achilles injuries, and I think he recovered from both of them perfectly fine. But at a certain point, you just break down.
Yeah, it's a human body.
He was Leon Hall. Leon Hall was an exceptional athlete.
Yeah,
I mean,
so is Andrew Booth, though. So is Andrew Booth. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think he's a Leon Hall. No, but his injuries weren't as serious as Leon's. But yeah. Okay, speaking of Hall, John, we have another person the Bengals might target in the first round. Again, I apologize for the not so spicy subtopic, but good luck on your finals, Anik. Logan Hall, right? So Logan Hall, John, is a guy who plays defense. Go ahead.
So if you were to stack 3 Hoagies on top of one another, you would get Logan Hall's
3
height.
Hoagies or 3 Hoagies?
Hoagies.
Me.
Okay. You need a lot more Hoagies to stack on top.
Hoagies.
This dude is 6'6".
He's been eating a lot of hoagies,
Maybe he has. Maybe he needs to do a little bit
back
more.
when Hoagie was cool, he used to eat 3 Hoagies a day. Back when Hoagie was cool.
Back when I was a meat eater, in my days of ignorance.
Yeah, but you don't gain height when you gain,
Well, we thought
height.
that was going to be. Yeah, we were hoping, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so
6'6", 275
He doesn't need any
pounds.
more vertical height. He may need a little bit more bulk because he's only 280 pounds, and he's been playing a lot of defensive tackle in his time at Houston, but he was really productive in that role. I think the last 2 years, his PFF pass rushing grade has been above 80s. His pass rush win rate has been above 20%. It's among some of the best amongst interior pass rushers. So if you're talking about a defensive tackle whose primary specialty is just getting into the backfield as a penetrator from that 3 technique spot, that's exactly what the Bengals need. I think Logan Hall fits the bill really well. And for being 6'6", and playing a lot of defensive tackle, his pad level is rarely an issue. He gets under guys, and he's really good with the bull rush. That's mainly how he wins, which is surprising considering his build. But he plays really low for his size, which indicates to me that he can survive a defensive tackle at the next level. And the more inside that he played at Houston over his 4-year career, the better he got as a run defender. So I think that bodes well as well for keeping him inside. But the Bengals in general just need someone to back up B.J. Hill at 3 technique and someone to play over the tackle when they go into their 5 defensive line sets, and I think Logan Hall is the ideal person for that. It's just a matter of where you take him, because he might be considered a reach if you were to take him in the late first round, but he might not make it to their second round pick. So in a scenario where the Bengals potentially trade out of the first round into like the 40s or the late 30s, I think Logan Hall is an ideal target in that range. I think the value fits perfectly there as a guy who's just can inject a pass rushing presence inside, because they don't have a lot of bodies who can do that right now.
Well, speaking about reach, I mean, his arms are not even 33 inches.
Oh boy.
What are we going to do about that, John? He's got little baby crocodile arms.
But that works to his advantage, because John said he likes to get under their, what do you say, under their pads. And,
so how do you feel about this
not
information,
literally.
Hoji? How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good, but not great. Maybe against it.
At the combine, his arms measured in at 32 3/4. So he was a quarter of an inch away from 33-inch arms. And then at his pro day, he measured in with 33-inch arms. So who are we to believe here? The school or the NFL?
It's going to be 34 inches by the time he's drafted.
Right. Maybe he's growing at this point.
So here's the question though: what kind of defense do the Bengals usually play? It's not a 3-4, is it?
Well, I think at its base, it's almost evolved into a 3-4. That's like what we say the 5 defensive lines, or the 5 defensive lineman sets. That's 3 defensive tackles. You have 2 guys on the edge, and then you have 2 linebackers behind them. But when they need a stop against the pass on third down, they'll go 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and 3 cornerbacks. That's your base nickel, if you will. So it's a combination of a lot of things. People don't like the term multiple, but I think it really fits that for what the Bengals do. Like they have
it's
a lot
like the
of
multiverse.
Yeah.
But they say on the website that this guy Logan Hall is more suited for a 3-4. So.
Right, because he has experience playing multiple gaps at the same time, which is what you see in a 3-4. If you line up right on the nose of a guard or the nose of a tackle, you're responsible for both gaps on either side of you, and that's a player, that's a role that the Bengals have had in the past. Like B.J. Hill played that role last year when he was backing up Larry Ogunjobi. Now B.J. Hill's going to play Larry Ogunjobi's role more, and they need someone to play B.J. Hill's role when they're in their 3-4 sets. So Logan Hall, I think, can do that as well as back up B.J. Hill as a one-gap pass rusher. So I think he can play multiple hats.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay.
Do you see the game of tennis that John and I are playing back and forth? Two great minds.
Yeah.
How could someone call you a puppet? Anybody calls him a puppet, they got to answer to me.
Yeah. Well, you two didn't notice. I noticed because I care. But we don't have HR in the room. Yeah. And I feel like we didn't really take advantage of that. It was a very mellow show. We could have said a lot more controversial things, got it out of our system. But at any rate, so we don't have our normal Daddy-O Cares. And John is actually going to talk about something that's very sad. The passing of Dwayne Haskins, a 24-year-old young man with an infectious smile. It's what you read everywhere, and you can see it in the photos. Very loving man, generous man. Anybody who played with him and knew him was touched by his humanity. And so we're going to let John talk a little bit more about that.
Dwayne Haskins, I believe, came from the New Jersey, New York area, and he visited Ohio State when he was like 7 years old. And he, in an Ohio State jersey, again, as like a second grader, he said, "I like it here. I want to go to college here." And a lot of kids 7, 8 years old, they have dreams, right? They have ambitions and aspirations. Not every one of them meets it. Dwayne Haskins not only accomplished his dream, he added more on top of it. And for a program and a school that doesn't really produce a lot of great quarterbacks, Dwayne Haskins became a first-round pick after competing to win that starting job, I believe, in like 2018. And he was like a redshirt sophomore or true junior. He was like 20 years old at the time, and he won that job over a guy named Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow's whole story arc kind of started from there. But with Haskins, he threw for like 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in that Ohio State offense. I think he won the Rose Bowl as well. And he did it all, like Daddy-O said, with this infectious personality and smile. And everything about him made him a first-round pick at the quarterback position. And unfortunately, he went to a terrible franchise in Washington that never really gave him a true chance to develop and thrive. Washington let him go, and he was available for any team to acquire at like 22, 23 years old. And he ended up with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he was doing good things, developing under Mike Tomlin with that quarterback room, and already just making these great relationships with the Steelers, making himself known in the community, making a difference with different charitable groups and whatnot, and just making his name known and making sure that people knew that he was there to help and he was there to stay and he was there to make a difference. And he was just 23, 24 years old. His career arc had taken this crazy left turn, and he was making the absolute most of it and just trying to make something out of himself. He already made so much out of himself. He already made it past where I think a lot of people expected him to go. And he became a first-round pick, a quarterback out of Ohio State. That's already unheard of enough. And to carve out a role in the NFL was just the cherry on top of it. But he was working out with some of his teammates in Miami, Florida, and he was driving on the highway. I believe he ran out of gas and got out of his car, and he was struck by a vehicle on the highway, and he passed away just a couple weeks before he turned 25 years old. And I mean, anytime anyone dies, passes away at that age with just so much to offer to the world and already to make such a difference in the world and your community, wherever you go, it's just nothing short of absolutely tragic. I know he was a Steeler, he was an Ohio State Buckeye, but he was a human being more than anything, and a great one at that. And I wish his family nothing but the absolute best during what I can only imagine is the darkest time possible.
Peace and love and namaste. I am so touched, John, by that beautiful tribute. I am verklempt. And I tell you what, with that, I cannot handle Daddy-O switching from that to promotion, the capitalistic, cold-hearted promotion. So I'm going to log off. I don't want to hear it.
I obviously, I have some... Oh, wow, he's gone.
He's actually gone.
Well, I think, John, he's right. We can try to... We don't have to talk about promotion in this show because you really put us in a different place. And with that, we can end the show. I will say one final note, John. Joe Burrow was out there for the Reds. they needed his help, and so he was pitching for the Reds today, and he got a lot of attention. You heard that crowd. This is crazy. I think they got them to sell out the team, sell out the stadium, and Jamar Chase and Zach Taylor, they were all there. So that was fun to see. But
yeah, I think Zach had some influence on how much Joe was going to pitch, even so much that Zach was out there catching for him. So he pulled him after just one pitch to save his arm a little bit.
Well, they're both tremendous athletes. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to, if they could actually play the game of baseball. But yeah, so that is all we have for the non-news. We're going to have some real news very soon, John. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have the draft. That's going to be a lot of fun. We have a very special surprise for you that we can't announce yet about the draft. We're going to have some really fun activities for the draft. And that is all we have for this show. For John Sheeran, I am Daddy MacDuke. Don't forget to subscribe. Turn on notifications, that little bell. I never knew what that was, John. That is to get notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Do that, and we'll see you next time. So long, sweetie. Bye.